Live from New York, it's a show with two huge pieces of news. Actually, three.
Wow.
News item number one. Brew's not here. He's in Bali, I believe.
No, Bali's the next trip. He's at a family reunion.
Okay,
that's in a few weeks.
Piece of news number two. The show is 2 hours today, and it will be for the foreseeable future, except for tomorrow when we're off. News item number three.
Yeah.
Christina got engaged this weekend.
Are you allowed to say that?
Yes. I asked her.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations to Christina.
Yeah, Christina and Sean. I said,
wow.
What'd you do this weekend? I expect her to be like, oh, you know.
Can I tell you something not to make it about me? I had a better weekend.
Oh, good.
Got Syracuse to college football playoff in the new college football game. Oh, wow.
Oh,
we're in there. We're in there.
We start with the GOAT in Baltimore. Well, that's the plan for the reigning MVP, according to his coach, Jim Harbaugh. Okay, your reaction.
All right, well, so the first step to that, I guess, would be to be known as definitively the best quarterback in your own division currently playing. That would be like one of the first steps en route to being the greatest quarterback to ever play.
Yep.
So here's the thing, because I don't want to – Lamar, we did, right around the time he either was about to win or won the MVP, I did the all-time quarterback pyramid.
Yeah.
Lamar was on there.
Where was he?
I think he's probably around like 25th-ish, 20th. I don't even quite – maybe 20th. I don't know. But the point was he was a lock, stock, or is Hall of Fame quarterback. And so because of those two MVPs, because of the regular season win percentage, so I don't want to denigrate who he is as a player. The problem, I think, is there are two guys who have a really strong argument. They're the second best quarterback in the league. And I think most people consider both of these guys top five. And a lot of people probably consider them 2 and 3 in one order. And they have a similar issue in Josh and Lamar, which is they both have, they're different, a very clear stumbling block to getting to where they're trying to get to. So for Josh, it's just he has yet to show us the ability to have a start-to-finish great regular season, which would then allow you to, for the first time ever, have a bye or home field advantage, to not be playing these brutally tough playoff games in round 2 that have been knocked him out of the playoffs, right? But he has the resume of maybe the second best quarterback in the league, but because of not being able to do it from September to January, it's not crystal clear. For Lamar, it's very different than that, because you can make a case that from September to January, Lamar's the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, you want to see the case?
Yeah, let me see it.
First 6 years as a starter. Regular season, Lamar is number one. Yeah. A 753 win percentage. Problem when we get to the playoffs, unfortunately, is 2 and 4. Yeah. He's got 2 MVPs. So if you want to say he's the GOAT, regular season GOAT, you can get pretty close to it.
And to be fair, he doesn't quite have a better regular season win percentage than Mahomes, but he has the 2 MVPs, and people would argue he didn't have, at least at the beginning of his career, the supporting cast Mahomes had at the beginning of his, he had to play his rookie season, which took some, which Mahomes didn't have to deal with. But it's then, so now we can put up my graphic, because this is what works against him. He is in the regular season, just throw out his rookie year because it's unfair to him. I'm just using passer rating because Lamar does more than that. Obviously he has, but even just passer rating, he's 6th in the whole league. And then in the playoffs drops all the way to 21st. So for Lamar, before you can have any of these discussions, because Wildes, if you were to say, other than Mahomes, what quarterback would you like to have on your team for this coming regular season?
Me?
Yeah.
Drake May, probably, but then probably Lamar.
Lamar, right?
Yeah.
It's a legitimate. But if I were to say to you, you have a playoff game this weekend, I think I would take Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Stroud.
I can't say Stroud. He just beat Stroud.
Okay,
Stroud's hype needs to. Everyone put Stroud over Lamar, and I love C.J. Stroud. The guy won the MVP. They played head-to-head, and he beat him. He beat him twice.
All right, so let's take Stroud off it. That's fine. I disagree. I think Stroud in 1 year has as many great playoff games as Lamar has in his career. But take Stroud off it. That's fine. If Goff, Jordan Love, Baker, in a playoff game, Baker has 3 times as many excellent playoff games as Lamar does. Stafford, no question. Dak, I would rather have in a playoff game.
Okay, let's hit the brakes. That's it.
What's the argument? What's the argument against it? What's the argument against there being 10? That's the problem. There's 10 guys in this league that if you were told, at least for me, I was told we have a playoff game this weekend, who can I pick at quarterback that I would name before I name Lamar Jackson? The
numbers aren't kind to him in the playoffs. Hopefully it's just small sample size. I mean, it's 6 games, but
6 games not that small. Playoff games.
Kind of small.
Who would you rather have in a playoff game this year, Jalen Hurts or Lamar?
I like Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the problem is the dichotomy between it. Because over the course of a regular season, other than Mahomes, you could say Lamar is the clear-cut #1 draft pick. But over the course of a postseason, I think there's a third of the league you'd rather have.
All right, so let's get into the playoffs. Super Bowl odds for the Ravens right now. Rematch.
I didn't even mention Trevor. Oh, my goodness.
No, there's a reason.
I didn't even mention Trevor.
Yeah, he's good for half. Chiefs 49ers are tied at #1. Then it's Lamar, then the Lions, then Joe Burrow, and then Jalen Hurts. Baltimore too high, too low, or just right. And I got a hot take brewing here.
Oh, do you want to start with it?
No, because it's a take that comes after your take.
I think they're too high, meaning I don't think they should be third. I think they should be closer to 7th or 8th.
Oof.
As far as they lost 2 key offensive linemen.
Mm-hmm.
They lost multiple members of a great defense and their defensive coordinator. They are in, I think we all agree, the toughest division in the sport, and a schedule that is harder than really imaginable. Their road games are, other than the Giants, their road games are Kansas City, Dallas, Tampa, the Chargers, Houston, and the 3 road divisional opponents. They have 1 gimme road game all year long. And so, and look at it a different way, Wildes. How many of those games on that schedule do you look at and say, definite
easy
win?
Dub, yeah.
I count 3.
You have got the Raiders,
Yep.
the Commanders, and the Giants.
Yep, that's it.
Tough one.
I count 3 easy victories. Now, that's not about Baltimore. And by the way, a lot of the AFC North has brutal schedules because you play each other, but Baltimore has the downside of the strength of schedule games, adding those other tough opponents. So it's just a impossibly tough schedule coming off a year where the defense was great and you lose the coordinator. So I just think I think that's too high. And by the way, I heard, gosh darn it, Football Outside, Aaron Schatz this week talking about how they have Baltimore as either the best or the second best team in the league going into this year. Baltimore and San Francisco. Like a lot of the smart analytics folks love Baltimore. I just think they're overvalued at the moment.
Okay, so we talked about, Lamar's playoff struggles. I want to show you another graphic. And this is boiling hot, so I'm not actually going to say it. I'm just going to present some stuff and try to convince you to say it. Ravens in the playoffs under John Harbaugh. Started off really good, 9-4. Recently, 3-6.
The Tomlin thing, too.
Then there was a headline in the Baltimore Sun that we're going to pull for Brew, but since Brew is not here. For Ravens, it's Super Bowl or bust, despite changes to the roster of the coaching staff. So Super Bowl or bust, we always kind of get on Broussard about it. It's like, well, what does the bust mean? Does things actually change? It doesn't seem like Lamar is going to go anywhere. If the Ravens come up short, is it just another run-it-back year? Or is there a chance that I think look from the top down and say something's got to change?
So here's the thing. I think people have forgotten. One of the reasons John Harbaugh, and it was now 6 years ago, but switched from Flacco to Lamar mid-season was because he was going to get fired. That was like a save my job, pull this parachute type of thing. Now Flacco got
Flacco can still play.
Evidently. Flacco got hurt and they put Lamar in, but then they stuck with him. People at that time was like, man, haven't won a playoff game. I think they had won 1 playoff game since the Super Bowl. There was a lot of like, did we peak years ago and have just been on the downslope? And then since then with Lamar, they've had this massive success. I think right now is an odd moment to say he's on the hot seat because they're coming off playoffs and regular season, but playoffs as well, their best year since the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They won a playoff game. They had the bye. They made it to the conference championship game. So I don't look at John Harbaugh on the hot seat. What I do think is the reason I said the Tomlin thing is those are two coaches, same division and, bitter rivals as it happens, who had massive success almost immediately upon taking over as the head coach. And then since then have had no real, for Tomlin, 0, and for the Ravens, close to 0, like awful years, but not the consistent championship contender that we got used to early in their.
Well, I felt like it was intellectually unfair of sports media to say Dak is 2-5, maybe it's time to move on. That is not a hot take at all in the playoffs. It's like maybe it's time the Cowboys move on. It's not going to happen. You got to start fresh, almost like the Kirk Cousins Vikings scenario. And Harbaugh's 3-6, one more win, one more loss, and it feels almost taboo to say should you think about moving on?
Well, but I think that is, if Dak were 2-5 in his last 7, but won a Super Bowl previously, there's an Aaron Rodgers component of that as well, which is Rodgers' postseason record. If you remove the Super Bowl he won immediately, wasn't great. You know what I mean? And so, I think that when you said Dak's 2-5, I thought you were going in a different direction, but I forget you're a Lamar guy, which is, there are more similarities in statistical career regular season success versus postseason success to Dak and Lamar than people would like to acknowledge. Now, Lamar has reached greater heights in the regular season without question. I would argue Dak has been a better playoff quarterback than Lamar. They both have the 2 wins, but Dak doesn't consistently, every single year, have the worst game of his season in the postseason. I understand this year he likely did, but that hasn't always been the case. And so there is some. I think there are some similarities in that regard, but in a different way than you were meaning.
Hear me out, and you can tell me this weird. Do you agree with the idea that maybe Lamar should bomb a game 100% in the regular season so you won't be able to say his worst game?
It is something. If people don't know what I'm referring to, every year of Lamar's career, the fewest points they have scored that season have been their playoff game.
Yeah.
He's 100% on the years they've made the playoffs, which, yes, sometimes you're a victim of your own success.
Shut out early.
You never do poorly in the regular season. But it also speaks to, whether it's a mental thing or whether it's a defense adjustment thing, that we're at 100% hit rate on Lamar having one of his only, if not his only, truly awful game of the year in the biggest spot.
Okay. Finally, Team USA's warm-up against South Sudan turned into an Olympic scare. South Sudan on the verge of the upset before LeBron scores the go-ahead bucket. As a fan, I prefer the blowouts, to be 100% honest with you. Number one takeaway from this game.
Seeing the reverence that his teammates have shown towards him this entire process has been a revelation. From they took a players on the team vote, who's the best player on the team, not who's the leader, who's the captain, who's the best player. A few guys got 1 vote, one guy got 2 votes, LeBron got 5.
Anthony Edwards voted for himself.
Twice. That Anthony Edwards being asked after this game what was there, and it says LeBron James. Steph Curry calling him the closer. We then, and I know we'll get to it, have the added, not really basketball, but kind of also basketball, him being the flag bearer for the team, the first ever men's basketball player to do it. We did Friday, I don't think it's posted to social media yet, but Friday after the show, we did a 92 versus 2024 draft of the Olympic teams or whatever.
I was there.
And I'm telling the audience, they were not there because it hasn't posted to social media. And it was based on how good they are right now, not at their peaks, how good they are right now. And Brew had the second pick of the draft and took LeBron James.
That was more to stick it to you, though.
Well, but it was also, I think he's the best player on the team. And I think that in these spots, when you are getting a healthy LeBron James, I think even at a shade under 40, 21 years in the league, I don't think there's a better American basketball player. Now, you can say over the course of a year, I'd rather have Shea because he's, and I know Shea's not American, but because LeBron can get hurt but if you are telling me I am getting Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, LeBron James, all at their current health, and give KD his healthy calf.
Yep.
Who do I want in this coming tournament? I think the best guy is LeBron. And I don't think that, and I think his teammates think it, and that's how they're acting. And beating South Sudan by a point is not an impressive team accomplishment. But the fact that I think when we first heard about this team, Wildes, I think a lot of us initially thought, okay, so for LeBron, it's kind of ceremonial. It's Diana on the women's team a bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Like that when in big moments, once we're not in the exhibition, but in the medal round, and you have to have your best 5 out there. I think a lot of people thought LeBron's probably not going to be one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, your buddy Bill talked about it at the time, talked about it again, giving him credit recently. He's the best player. He's the oldest guy in the league. We're in the Olympics, and because he's healthy, I think he's the best player. And that's remarkable. That's unprecedented and remarkable.
So he's also going to be the flag bearer for Team USA. He was nominated by Steph Curry as well as the whole team. A few things here. Number one, this is a magnanimous gesture from Steph Curry, his longtime rival, the two faces of the league, and he basically has put down his sword and be like, you're the man. And he goes on to talk really nicely, really nicely about his accomplishments, obviously, on the court and off the court as a philanthropist, and he talks about the school and what he means to basketball in the global community at large. Which gets me to this point. Throughout all of USA basketball, it's always been a bit of a professional flirtation. A lot of times it involves KD. KD and Draymond. Yeah. What would it be like to play with you? KD and Kyrie.
But it involved LeBron, the original Heatles.
That started at the Olympics of just like, hey, what's going on? So there will probably be one coming out of this group. Yeah. And it's usually it's a first contract guy, where am I going next? So that's why everybody thinks it could be Anthony Edwards. But what if LeBron's list of to-dos, which I like to remind everybody, the guy has a list of to-dos with no incompletes on it. He just has to add to-dos. He's like, okay, Bronny to the Lakers, that one's done. So now he's looking to add one. Is the to-do that he's going to add play with Steph Curry in the NBA?
So, listen, I know you're a busy man.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're not doing the show, prepping for the show.
Did you talk about this
You listen to The Odd Couple on 7 to 10, so you don't always have time for What's Right with Nick Wright.
I'm still
Tuesdays
binging.
And Thursdays
I'm still binging.
On YouTube. But a week ago when I said,
tough ones. Dusty, you gotta let me know.
I now would bet that this is more than on the board. That I think LeBron and Steph seem to be enjoying this so much, and I think neither is going to enjoy this coming season.
Oh, that's a good
That's
take.
LeBron has the option after this year. Steph doesn't quite, and so they're, whether it would be in Golden State or somewhere else. What I said on the podcast, and I'll restate here, is if LeBron plays longer than this next year, if he's like, you know what, I can just keep going, guys. I'm not going to be bad. I'm still, all NBA level. I think he and Steph find a way to play together. Because and by the way, at that point, I don't think it's like a super team. I don't think that's like, oh my God, it's like when Steph and KD came together.
Just old guys at the Y.
But just old guys and I think basketball IQ-wise, stylistically, all of it fits. And I think both of them are going to have these Olympics and win the gold and be like, so we were the two best guys, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're the two best? And then they're going to go
to the world?
And then they're going to go to their teams and be fighting each other for the play-in. You're like, well, this sucks.
No, it stinks.
And so, LeBron's approaching year 22 and turns 40. So I don't know if he's gonna choose to play long enough. The other news this weekend was they say the Vegas team's going to cost $7 billion.
7?
That's what they said. They said
LeBron's like, oh,
yeah, you're right. And so
7,
right? That's why he couldn't take the real pay cut from Pelinka and them. But so I don't know how much longer he's going to play. But I agree with you. I also think for the NBA, which has milked the Steph and LeBron gravy train for as long as possible, if there's any way for them to grease the skids to that happening as a farewell year or two, I think it'd be good for business.
That they're going to play in Vegas? What do you want to do?
No, I'm talking about those two guys playing together. The Vegas thing was unrelated. My point is LeBron needs to make more money. He's got like these NBA max salaries.
What do you want him to do? What do you want him to do? What does that mean?
Play longer.
Grease the skids.
No. Oh, I don't know.
What are you talking about?
Oh, we don't have time to get to it. I don't know. I'm just saying. I think it's in the NBA's business interest. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.